All right, so I have 3:30. Let's call to order today's Ways and Means Committee meeting of the Orange County Legislature. Please note that this meeting is being transmitted live via stream. The public can link to this video stream by visiting the Orange County Legislature at www.orangecountygov.com, clicking on the tab for the legislature and locating the meeting on the calendar. Please remember, silence your cell phones, tablets, or other electronic devices. And remember that the microphones here are very sensitive and we should be speaking one at a time, and be careful of what you're talking about, because it could and most likely will be captured on tape. At this time, would everyone please rise for Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, first up, County Tax Office. Roll call. Oh, yes, thank you, Mr. Nagasaki. Carry on, roll call, please.
Nagasaki.
Present.
Present. O'Donnell.
Here.
Hines.
Here.
Hotel. Here. Purdue.
Here.
Cheney.
Here.
Benton.
Here,
All present.
thank you. Hey,
Good afternoon.
welcome. So first up is the County Executive's Office. This is a resolution of the Legislature of the County of Orange electing a cents per gallon rate of sales and compensating use taxes on motor fuel and diesel motor fuel in lieu of the percentage rate of such taxes pursuant to the authority of Article 29 of the tax law of the state of New York. Motion in a second, please. Thank you, Laurie.
Good afternoon.
Welcome.
The county executive is proposing this resolution, amending resolution number 193 of 1982 to add a new section 4B pursuant to New York State tax law 1111M, which would reduce its sales and compensation tax on motor fuel and diesel fuel to limiting the said sales and tax compensation use tax to $2 per gallon of such fuel. The resolution, if passed, would take effect of the last quarter of the year, which would commence on September 1st and end on December 31st, 2022. The county executive wanted to impose the maximum amount of savings possible under the statute to provide some relief to the residents of Orange County. What that would mean for, in layman's term, would be the sales tax currently is 3.75%. That we would be only collecting on the first $2 per gallon. Thereafter, it would not, the consumer would not be paying that sales tax.
Okay.
Chairman.
Now,
First 2 gallons? The first 2 gallons would be
first
taxed.
$2.
I'm sorry, the first $2, you're correct. The first $2 would be taxed. Thereafter, it would not be taxed on the county rate.
Okay, so the last meeting we had a discussion with Karen Havlo before she left about such an event as this. She kind of said there is no guarantee, and how do we guarantee that retailers are living up to this, and how will it be visible or trackable that retailers are only charging up to the first $2 for the county and not putting it in their pocket? Because personally, 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago, the state was supposed to drop their 18 cents. They made a big thing about it on the news. Oh, starting tomorrow, 18 cents less. Well, guess what? My local station, nothing. Didn't go down until just kind of like this Monday. So how do we implement this, and then how do we know it's actually being followed?
Impossible.
Okay, well, there's twofold to that question. The first question would be, how do we see it at the pumps? There's no guarantees that we would see it at the pumps. New York State did a cents per, we were doing a percentage. New York State did 16 cents per gallon. In the first week, on average, the Hudson Valley did see a drop in prices. Unfortunately, the price of crude oil, which is 50% of what gas prices are, shot up, and therefore we did not see the savings at the pump. However, you did see the savings, it just didn't rise that dramatically. So while you think, when you're going to the gas pump, there is still that 16 cent savings, but the price of crude oil went up. So it did not jump as much. So, I can't guarantee that it will be there, but what I can say is that on average, what we've come up with is that if for example, if the prices are at $5 a gallon, you'd most likely be saving about 12 cents additional for the county on top of the 16 cents that New York State. And hopefully that's as much as we can do. That's what we can do for the taxes for the residents of Orange County, that this New York State has provided us authority to do that.
So you have to just trust the computers.
Well, that is as far as whether or not you would see it. It will lessen the price of gas, whether or not you will see it at the pump, because there are other factors. Marketing, distribution, crude oil, all of that, the refineries, they all drive. Only taxes make about 10% of what you see at the prices. That's what said it. It's a global market. To your other question about enforcement, we will be using the fullest extent consumer affairs to monitor. I know that the state is also monitoring as well. We encourage residents, if they think there's price gouging, to contact the consumer affairs. We do have a local law 6 of 1998 that provides that they can seek enforcement. They can find violations of up to $2,000 if they find someone price gouging. And we would be using that as an enforcement tool.
Yeah, because occasionally you used to see when it was priced at the top of the pump, you saw a gallon, you saw taxes, and you saw this to total up to the bottom. So
right,
I have to look for that again.
understandably, it is a tough thing to try to enforce, because gas prices are different from this station to that station.
Oh, of course.
And they vary, sometimes daily, sometimes twice daily.
Right.
So recognizing that might be a little bit tough. I do recognize that, but this is the most that we can do with given the tools from New York State.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm a little confused because in reading this, it says we're electing a cent per gallon, but we're not. You're telling me that, and I see it being very problematic, because each gas station is going to have to have computer programs to calculate on the first $2 to charge the rate, and after the first $2 per gallon, not to charge the rate. And it's too easy for them just not to do it, and no one would know the difference. No one would know the difference. But in reading this, I thought we're electing a cents per gallon, but we're not. Now, other counties do elect cents per gallon. I printed out, and you either have a rate, which is what we have,
Yes.
but you're proposing a rate on only the first $2, or you can have a cents per gallon, which many counties have gone to. How come we're adopting a cents per gallon, but we're not doing a cents per gallon?
The form of the resolution was approved by New York State. That's the form. We cannot change the form, but we are doing it a percentage and not a cents per gallon. The resolution has already been looked at by New York State. They know that we want a percentage, and that was the form that they required.
So you asked New York State to do a percentage on the first $2, and this is the
Correct.
wording that they want?
They require this wording, yes.
But so the other problem I have with this is a semantics problem. So the executive decided he didn't want a cents per gallon. He wanted a percentage on the first $2. But the executive should be executing what the legislature legislates. And so, my semantics out of the way, I'm not going to vote against it because of that. I'm going to vote against it because this cannot be enforced. And the gas stations are going to pocket the difference or the whole amount. And the people will continue to pay regardless of what we do here. If it were a cents per gallon, that would be different, because then you would know that, and again, the rate that we're charging is 3 3/4. So 3.75 cents on every dollar gets charged as a tax rate. If we made it a cents per gallon and said, we're only going to charge 2 cents per gallon, well, that's easy enough for every consumer to know and for every gas station to implement. This is not. I'm sorry.
Mr. O'Donnell.
Thanks. So when you calculated this, you told us you assumed $5 per gallon.
Correct.
So how much is that gonna cost us come December 31st?
Oh, if I may. I brought my
Alright,
financial.
so there's a lot of variables out there, as we all know. I mean, I paid $4.84 a gallon for gas.
Just stick to the $5.
Stick to the $5, okay. So I went on the New York State Sales website. They have a category called gasoline stations. Okay? I assume that that means just gas, but I have a call into the comptroller's office and they're not sure either. If it includes the stuff that you buy at the little mini mart or whatever. Okay, so what I did was I drilled down to the percent of what this gasoline station percent of all of our total sales tax would be. It's about 6.55%. Then I drilled down into the quarters, okay? And for the 21 to 2022 year, okay, because it doesn't run concurrent to a calendar year, the September to November percent was about 26.5% of that total. Now you have to assume that if gas is $5 a gallon, we're gonna save the taxpayers 60%, because we're gonna collect on $2 and we're gonna send. So it could be, again, lots of variables here. This is a really rough estimate.
Just on the $5, I'm not.
Okay, well,
getting to the
there's
penny.
still a lot of estimates,
I'm not
because I
getting
don't
to the
know the
penny.
gallons of gas. That's
Right.
really what I'm saying. That's how you would really
Oh,
calculate it.
Nobody's gonna know that.
Nobody's gonna know that.
Right.
It could be between 2 to 3 million savings to our taxpayers.
And of course,
But
then,
again,
Right.
please don't hold me to that.
exactly. So even if it's say 2.5 million, there's no way we would ever be able to know how much of that 2.5 million went to Orange County residents, would we?
No.
No, because 17, the Thruway, 84, I mean, we market ourselves on those 3 highways.
Travel port in Montgomery.
Exactly. So like I stated at one of the previous meetings, I'll be voting no on this. I would much rather see us get a hold of motor vehicles, right? Find how many registered vehicles to people that live in Orange County. And if you come up with, it's gonna be $2.5 million, then divide that by each registered owner and send them a check. That way, only Orange County residents get the benefit of this. Not people visiting from Canada going through, not everybody coming up from New York City with my Bronx accent going to Legoland, okay? It's to benefit Orange County. That's why we're doing this, correct? Correct. So the only way to ensure that the only people that benefit in Orange County and not the surrounding area is to do it by a per vehicle rather than this, which is well intended, right? Everybody wants to give people a break on the gasoline, but we have no way of tracking it. There's no way that if we called Consumer Affairs up here today and they told us, here's what we did last month in preparation of this, it would be 0. They did nothing to prepare for this, all right? And there's no way they can tell me what they're gonna do to check each individual gas station from here, all right? It's well intended, but I would much rather see money go to everybody with a registered vehicle. If it's the gas, we're looking to give them a break, and we have a round figure, right? So I'd like you to come back with something like that, but I'll be a no on this today. But thank you, Chairman.
You're welcome. Ms. Tortel?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Twofold question, I don't know who could answer it at this point. I'm going to start actually with you, Debbie. You said 6.55% is
The percent of the description of gasoline stations over our total taxable sales. So that's how it's listed on the sales tax website. And then you have to drill down into, and they have many different categories, 300.
And then what is the quote unquote, because we missed the drop dead date for it to start July 1st. What is the quote unquote drop dead date for this for it to happen for
September.
September?
Now, it would have to be today,
To
this week.
All right, I think we should have had Consumer Affairs up here because I agree with my colleagues. How is this enforceable? Because they're building all the taxes into that price per gallon. So if I'm paying $4.69 a gallon at the pump, I'm paying $4.69 a gallon for all of it. How are we gonna say, okay, well, the pump's gonna bring me up for $4.69 a gallon, And then it's gonna take that percentage of worth the 3.75% at $4.69 a gallon, and then it's gonna drop down on the next. How is that even possible to calculate at the pump? I think it was not well thought out when it came to transferring it to the consumer. Because it would have to be an overall even thing in order for it to actually us see that number change at the pump. And in my honest opinion, I think it's gonna stay with the supplier, the mini mart owner, the billionaires who own most of the gas stations across the county. And I agree with my colleagues here that I want to see this really go to the taxpayers of Orange County. As much as I understand it's also a tourism drive, and I get that little small component of it, I want to see it go to our residents because it's our budget, our residents, our tax dollars for them. So I think that unless we can amend this in some way at this point, I would be a no, even though I think that it's the right idea, but just executed in the wrong manner.
Yeah, I mean, getting back to my personal beliefs, I mean, I don't believe that gas stations are gonna do it right. I don't think we can trust the computers. I'd rather calculate some sort of number at the end of the year by total gallons of sales that is reported by gas stations, picking a percentage and taking that money as a lump sum, partial come off the property tax for the property owners and partial as supplementing a program such as parks or something like that for everybody to use rather than doing this. Mr. Hines.
Yeah, so I think from budgetary purposes, we're miles ahead of where we budgeted for the sales tax because it's a percentage. When the gas is $5 a gallon, we probably already collected the sales tax we expected for the whole year before, by the time September comes. So we're at, I believe, where we need to be through September. And it's not hard to reduce the price of gas. It is going to be quite simple. If you own a gas station and you're selling gas for $5 a gallon, you know you deduct the 3.75 for the last $3 of that and set that price. So it's not hard to do. They set that, they change the prices all day long, as council has just indicated. I don't think it's hard, and I think that the gas stations individual gas station owners are going to follow the rules because I think there's significant fines and they can be arrested if they don't follow the rules. Anytime you mess with the taxes, you suffer penalties. I would assume, I know there's attorneys here that would justify that. So I don't think it's that hard to do. I think we should do it. If 80% of the people from Orange County get a benefit and 20% is tourism, I don't know the numbers, but it makes sense. Like someone had pointed out, Ulster County already did it. If I drive through Ulster and get that discount. So I'm for it. I think it's the right move at this time because I'm sick of paying those prices at the pump. And if we can help a little bit, let's do it. We don't need the money because we've already hit that part of our budget, I'm sure.
Mr. Brush.
Yeah, this is the deadline to do this today. If not, we don't do anything. This is for the last quarter, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so, it's not the best solution, but, we talk about the cents per gallon. It's all we've got here today. So I think we should pass it. And I don't know if we have the votes here today to do that or not, but at least it shows our efforts to give some relief to the gas and petroleum users in Orange County. So I think it's, I brought this up to you, a couple months ago, Chairman, and trying to do something because.
That's why we talked about it with Karen.
Yeah, and like Kevin says, our coffers are probably full for the year, but this is the best we're gonna get right now, so I'm gonna support it.
Mr. Chairman, is it possible that we move through the agenda, put this aside for a few minutes and get somebody from
No, let's
Consumer
get it
Affairs
done.
up here to explain it maybe a little bit more?
I don't think they're gonna explain anything that the law department can't.
No, how they would, how
They don't have a
trans,
Mr. O'Donnell.
So last year, with the extra money we had, we gave the tax break on the property taxes. We plan on doing that again this year. We're at everybody. If you don't like just doing the registered vehicle owners, that's fine. But there's no way, Kevin, even if 3/4 of the gas station owners do the right thing, and 1/4 aren't, all right? And the fact that fines That has nothing to do with how much they charge per gallon. They can still charge whatever they want. All right, there's no limit on charging $4.79 or $4.89. I'm in the same category as you, giving people a break, same as you, Mr. Brescia, but there's other ways to do it to benefit everybody. We've already shown from last year that we spent the extra money we got wisely in cutting the tax rate. We can do that again this year, so I'll still be a no just because it's a
Not everybody's a
deadline.
property owner though.
Just because
That's
it's a
true.
deadline doesn't
Right, and
rush to do something.
again, I'm
We're all on
personally
the same
against
page.
this, so,
Yeah, we're all on the same page to help the taxpayer.
but I'm personally against this, but I will vote for it to get out of committee so that the entire legislature has a chance to give their opinion and make a vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Of course, we all agree we're trying to give the taxpayers a break. Mr. O'Donnell's idea was an outstanding idea. I thought with the registered cars, and if we don't like with the registered cars, certainly give every homeowner a break. The only way you're going to get gas price breaks is if and when we go into recession. And if we're in recession by the third and fourth quarter, gas will be down at $3. All right. And so I'm not sure how much overage will be at the end of the year when something like that occurs. That's when you're going to get a break on gas prices. The pennies here are not helping the people out. Just like New York State's effort didn't really help the people out. It helps on a 1 day basis, on a 1 minute basis. But then as soon as the next tick of the oil prices in the worldwide market occur and the prices go up, you've lost that 18 cents or that
That's
12
exactly what
cents.
she said.
Okay?
Yep.
That's the way it works. So if you're wanting relief for drivers, they will get it if and when we're in a recession and prices will plummet because oil prices will plummet. So I'd like to give homeowners a tax break. I'm not going to be voting for this.
Mr. Padu?
Yeah, I think it's important. I mean, everybody has the right idea. I think that's a great idea that you propose. However, I would second it. The fact is, we talked about this months ago. And why are we putting on the spot today, that today's the last day when we've talked about it for months? The county executive said that there's not going to be any savings here. We're not going to do anything like that. But yet today, here we are. We don't vote today, it doesn't happen. We have nobody here to explain how they're going to enforce anything. How about the gas station owners that say, well, gee, I just bought this load at this price. I'm not doing that. I can't lower until all that gas is going. I mean, there's so many issues with this. I think I think there's a better way. There should be a better way. And that's not, I don't think this is going to do it. I'm not quite sure I'm going to vote on this. Sure, we all want to help if we can, but is it helping? How can we verify it's helping? We can't. So, thank you.
All right. No other hands. Carrie Ann, roll call.
Nagasaki,
No,
Russia,
Yes.
O'Donnell,
No,
Hines,
Yes.
Hotel,
No,
Paduk,
No,
Cheney,
Yes.
Benton.
Yes. Okay,
Motion failed.
No. Katie's over there.
Yes.
right, so now's the tie?
No.
No.
Okay. Okay,
now,
good. So now it goes to the floor
an uninformed legislature to
discussion.
make a final vote.
and the
We'll
20,
try and get them informed by then.
thank you for,
Thank you very much. Have a great.
Thank you for doing your best.
Thank you.
Very well put.
All right, number 1. This is a resolution approving the release of the county's interest into a certain deed sale parcel to the previous owner of record, to wit, Town of New Windsor, section block and lot 52-122. The delinquent property taxes were paid and the county did not take title to the property. Motion in a second, please.
So
Brescia. Second, I'll second.
sorry.
You're up, Matt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Here we are once again, this is an individually litigated matter. We got an order of foreclosure, but someone paid before the final judgment of the sell it at auction. So we would ask that we vacate the existing order so that title's completely clean and go with.
You said, now, here's a case. You said someone paid
I
the,
think it might have been sold already. I don't know, so, usually that's what happens, often that's what happens in these cases, there's a purchaser, they pay and they expect that this request will be granted.
Okay, so it wasn't necessarily the previous owner.
Yeah, well, someone came in, I don't know whether the money came from the previous owner or the, depending on how you phrase it, either it was or it wasn't, but.
Okay, because we did have an issue with a particular piece of property.
Well, no, there's no issue here.
There's no issue.
Yeah,
Okay.
no controversy, no issue.
Mr. O'Donnell?
So we don't know who paid.
There might
Well,
have
I think it's kind of important, if you come into the legislature to return property, that you at least have the facts of who paid and who didn't. All right, is this sort of the property we had before?
no, this is just an individually litigated house in New Windsor. Some of
They're
them-
all individually litigated.
No, a lot of these,
Come to us.
a lot of these are the general case where we take a default judgment. Here, the man submitted an answer, we move for summary judgment, it was granted, but before we could resolve it.
So anybody can come in and pay anybody else's taxes?
Correct. That's the thing.
Yeah, and we vacate, and that's why we vacate the judgment, so as to restore title to the way it would have been if we hadn't, as opposed to giving a deed, which can cause problems. Wiping out mortgages and the like. All we're doing is restoring title as if payments have been made on time.
Actually, Jimmy, it is in state real property law that anybody can pay
the
the
taxes.
sales taxes, and the rate of interest that you are to be paid then on your payment of someone else's taxes is established by the state.
We should at least know and have it on the record who paid the taxes, that it comes before us. So in the case of someone who's got dementia, some neighbor comes in, pays the taxes for that person, then they sell the property out from underneath them. I'm not saying this is the case here, Matt, but at least we have a record of who comes in and pays the taxes. If somebody all of a sudden is showing up on our records, paying the back taxes for 4 or 5 different people, then that's a red flag. So the only way we can know that is if it's on the record when you come to us on who paid the back taxes.
Ms. Total?
Just to kind of clarify what you're saying, there's been, I've seen it, I don't know if it's happened here in Orange County, but in other areas where people are like stealing the deed basically to your property and to your home. Are you thinking that this could lead to that? I think there'd be two separate issues
It's
where.
two separate issues, and that's why we do it this way, to just vacature rather, our judgment, all we're doing is
So
the
this
order
goes
for,
back
order
to
for
the
closure is no
Property
longer.
owner of record, the deed. and
Yeah,
then-
the order of foreclosure is no longer valid, that's it, that's all we're doing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. Mr. Cheney, did you have a hand
I
up?
think that answered my question.
Okay.
Well, there has to be,
Mr.
there
Perdue?
has to be a record, right? I mean, whoever paid it, you look at his check and whatever they gave it, right, and put it in the form. So why couldn't you bring that to us? I don't understand that. I mean, if John Doe paid Mrs. My next door neighbor's taxes, I mean, gee, John Doe paid her taxes, so that's it.
It could be just doing a friendly gesture. I mean, there's a lot of things that are possible. Mr. Cheney?
It doesn't change the
One at
ownership
a
of the
time.
property in any
No.
way, so.
No, we're just vacating
The
our order.
benefit would be out of being, a family member that's supporting the others. And the people who own the property, who fail to pay the taxes, continue to own the property.
Correct.
Yeah, no change of title.
But back to my point is, if some person shows up 4 or 5 times, that's a red flag.
How's it a red flag?
Yeah,
Because if
it's
it's
legal.
It's legal if they're buying one in New Windsor and one in Goshen and one up on Circleville, and they're going around and somehow finding out people that are having monetary problems. There's scams all over the world, all right? So that's how it's a problem. If one person is showing up in different properties around the county and there's no connection to why they're doing it, then we should be asking, how come Joe Citizen is buying up all these different properties in different towns? So we protect the property owners that way that might have some mental issues. That's where I'm coming from. Okay.
And when we find that out, what can we do about it?
Go to court, lock them up for scamming people out of their property. That's what I used to do for a living, lock people up. That's what we can do, Barry. Okay?
Well, I think that,
So you have to follow it. You have to
yeah,
follow all these for years to determine
Not
whether the
years,
scam is.
not years. If somebody comes in and 5 times in 1 year, that to me is a red flag. I'm just asking, first of all, we should have it no matter what. No matter what, just proper record keeping. We should know who sold.
We should know, or the.
We
the
should
county
know.
attorney.
We should know. We're voting on it. We should know. All right. That's
Saying
part
like-
of my due diligence. Okay?
You're saying like a receipt for the,
Yeah, I want to know who pays
Should
the
be
back
attached.
taxes. Yeah, that's all. Part of due diligence.
well, I think of it as possibly a different scam where, obviously, like I said, it's established in state law that you can pay your neighbor's taxes. So somebody does that and then goes to them and says, well, now that I paid your taxes, you owe me interest. You know, I see it as a different type of scam where someone is doing that, possibly. So, any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
You send this to me, please.
All right.
That
would be good. Okay, Paul Wiley, Acting Director of Real Property. Number 2 is request to amend Schedule A of Local Law 10 of 2018 and Local Law 4 of 2019 to add 156 Greenville Turnpike, Town of Mount Hope, Section Block and Lot 17-123.1 to allow for the sale of property. Motion in a second, please.
So moved.
Mr. Cheney, second. Tortel. Welcome.
Good evening, Chairman.
Go ahead.
This is for, we're going to be adding a property, 156 Greenville Turnpike, to Schedule A of Local Law 10 of 2018 to allow us to sell the property. This is an older 2-family house that has been unoccupied for a year or more. It's been broken into numerous times. The copper's been cut out of it. It's kind of failing by not being occupied and cared for. This was one of the reservoir properties, and so we need to amend the local law to allow us to sell this one.
All right. Questions, Mr. Cheney?
Yes. I know you're new, Paul, but is there any background or knowledge as to why this wasn't on the original list?
It hadn't been subdivided yet. I think most of the other properties were on small enough lots. This one was on a larger 67 or so acre parcel, and the subdivision process just took a little bit of time. So it was set aside on 2 acres of its own so that it could be sold. That was done, I think, the year before last. And we had a tenant in there that vacated approximately a year ago. And as I said, the property has been sitting vacant and basically getting broken into ever since.
Thank you.
So we couldn't find somebody else to fill in and be caretaker?
The property also needs quite a bit of work, needs a new roof. And
Bad condition generally?
yes, it's below
Even
average
before.
condition to begin with, and now it's just getting worse. And a new roof, having to go at the current prices, the cost of lumber and materials shot up in the last 2 years dramatically. I think it just was not worth it for us to consider for the little bit of rent that we would get in per month. It's
So
just
upgraded.
been sitting, as I said.
Okay. Mr. Ray?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Paul?
Yes.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're referring to the permanent appointment.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor as presented? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. You got off easy today.
Thank you.
Also, thank you for the report. Myself and the chairwoman of the legislature will review it first before we send it to the rest of the legislature.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was very helpful.
Okay, next up, Lawrence. Letter A is request supplemental appropriation to propose 2022 capital expenditure for the water sewer treatment plant in the amount of $135,000. Proposed to come from bonding. Who was motion?
Second.
Purdue? Jane? Okay. Okay, Lawrence.
So we typically do this annually. This is just for repairs. This is separate from the assessment. So we did this amount of money last year, we spent the money on repairs. If we need to fix something, we want to have the funding available immediately to take care of what we need to do for the sewage treatment plant.
All right. Questions? If no other questions, I have a question. Again, in recent years, you were paying from the reserve account, cash account. The cash account was 48,000,004 in January. I have a question about paying small amounts like this with bonding. I think we should continue to pay small amounts for projects from the cash account.
Well, we just did the audited financials. We lost money in 2021. We're going to lose a large chunk of money in 2022. And 2023 budget is not looking promising. 48 million sounds like a lot of money right now, but when you start using money to balance our budget for 21, 22, and 23, that money's going to go down quite significantly. Plus, we already had money for numerous capital projects committed from the fund balance. So that's why we are starting to do bonding now, because we already have a large amount of money committed to fund balance. I don't have that information with me, but I could certainly send it to you.
Okay, so you're saying we haven't paid for 21 and 22 yet?
I don't believe so, no.
You have to have paid for 21.
Well, 21, excuse me, yes, but 22, we haven't paid for yet.
Okay.
23 is going to be another big hole. We're still working on our 23 budget, but we're going to be looking to utilize a large amount again from our cash reserves just to balance the budget. We're going to be budgeting at a very realistic occupancy number, probably around 70%, which will, which is going to devastate the budget. We're going to have huge losses again.
All right, so again, January 1st of 2023, I will ask again what this is. I'll give in for now, but we'll see. If it's going to be high like this, we're going to start changing it back. Mr. O'Donnell.
Yes, I think we have 48 million.
48.4.
Right, in reserve fund.
Year end.
Year end of 21.
Right, and I think we were told we're on schedule to lose 6.4 million. Right, isn't that what
No.
the auditors told us?
No, that was last year.
Last year we
Right.
lost 6.4.
But they already paid last year to get them down to the
Right.
48
Right.
million.
Right,
So that meant they were at
they lost 6.4
54.
last year,
Come
they're
down.
gonna lose more than that this year.
Correct.
projected. So as I said, we'll see what it is.
And 23, he's not looking very good either.
But we'll review at the start of 23. Mr. Mike.
Thank you. But we did talk, and Mr. O'Donnell was in the audience at Health and Mental Health about I had proposed maybe this is a new normal. Maybe we have to start planning for 70% occupancy, not only here, but across the country. That's what the averages are. And Mr. Ledoux said, yeah, he's going to be taking drastic measures. I'm not sure what they will be, but the way I would look if I were sitting in your shoes, I'd be planning for a new normal, and I'd be trying to get us to break even on the new normal. So I'm going to be very curious to see how your budget evolves for next year. But that discussion was had.
Mr. O'Donnell.
So all our residents up there, the Orange County residents?
I'm sure we have a few that are Orange County residents, but the majority, probably 95% or plus, yes.
So if we had extra money in next year's budget from all this increase in gas tax money, that'd be a pretty good place to put it.
All right.
I'm not going to argue against that.
Mr. Cheney.
I know, Donna.
She never did a dance.
Mr. Cheney.
I'm gonna take this in a little bit different direction, just
Sure.
more specific to this particular project.
Yes.
What's the status of the facility-wide engineering assessment?
So we have about 20 projects that we have to get moving on. We just put out a bid. Well, I shouldn't say we're getting in the process. We're close to awarding a bid for a project manager, construction manager for a large number of these projects. After we award that, we can start moving on a number of these things, including the assessment. That on top of my director of plant operations, I have not had a director of plant operations for a couple of months. The new director of plant operations just started in June. So there's a couple of factors that have been put off the assessment.
So the wastewater or the water sewer or the sewer treatment plant assessment has not begun.
It is not, no.
And we don't have anybody on board to do
Not
that.
yet, no. We're gonna wait for the award of the capital project manager, and they're gonna assist us with that.
Because if we're sinking this kind of money in year after year, I would think that needs to
Right.
be a priority so that we can just figure out what the plan is moving
Right.
forward and fund it as necessary.
Right.
Yeah, we know that's a big priority.
Well, we've been talking about it as a big priority for a while.
Oh, I know.
Right.
I know.
Concerned that it doesn't continue to be talked about and we get, to see the results of that
Right.
assessment.
We put a lot of money into the plant the last 2 years. This is just to have the money in case we need it.
Understood.
We've had some major repairs done, and I don't, those were some pretty significant fixes, so, we'll see, but this is just to have the money there, obviously, in case we need it.
Ms. Patel.
Just to note that all three of these items under Mr. Ledoux have passed health and mental health academics.
Thank you. All right, any other questions? Mr. Paduk?
How much ARPA money do you allow?
I don't recall, but the sewer plant assessment, I think, could be using the ARPA money.
6 point something million.
Yeah, but this
It was
is
a lot of
just for
money.
regular repairs. This isn't.
Well, that's
for-
the issue here. Regular repairs add up. I mean, that's what we're talking about at the Valley View on our committee. We want to do a master plan. We want to get things happening. And that's one of the biggest issues, to know what we could have there. Yet, we're gonna keep dumping 135,000 here, whatever it is, until we have a plan. We're working on a plan for 2.5, almost 3 years now for Valley View in regard to a master plan. What we can do there, how we can save the county some money, make money for the county, actually.
This doesn't,
And who we
right,
need to do it with. We're still talking about it, and yet we're still spending money without.
we're not spending the money, you
Well,
guys
no,
are approving the
I
money to be
understand.
available should we need it.
I understand that. I'm just saying that. We need to do a better job at this. We talk about a lot of things and never really do anything.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor as presented? Aye. Opposed? Carried, thank you. B is request supplemental appropriation for proposed 2022 capital expenditure to continue upgrading patient care mechanical lifters in the amount of $70,000 to come from bonding.
So moved.
Mr. Cheney, second. Hines. Lawrence.
So we do this one annually as well. The average lifespan of a patient lifter is 5 to 7 years. These are important devices for the safety of our residents and of our staff. I won't steal Mr. Nagustakis' thunder because I think I know where he's going, but go ahead. That's pretty much all I need to say, but I know what he's going to say.
Mike A., go ahead.
He reads my mind. I was just going to comment, the same comment that I made in the Health and Mental Health Committee. For some people that don't sit on that committee and haven't followed Valley View from the beginning, from years ago, there's a definite benefit to this. And the benefit is not only is it better care for the patient, but our workers don't get injured. And if you want proof of that, they just booked this past year, 1.2 million in workers' comp charges for the last 12 months. But going back when we had other administrations sitting before us, my first year in office, lying through their teeth that never followed through on this kind of a thing, their workers' comps were 4.5 to 5.5 million back in those days. So that's like 3 to 4 million savings for the facility because we're doing it the right way now. We're overseeing this the right way. And I just, if I can, Mr. Chairman, just make a further comment. They're losing money the last 2 years because of COVID, and Lawrence, you'll correct me if I say anything wrong here. They're losing it not because we don't have enough customers or residents that want to come to the facility. We have people that want to come. They're losing that money because the occupancy is down at 70%, just like it is across the whole country right now, because places like Valley View can't get workers. And so we can't get the labor to bring our customers in to get us back to break even or making profits. And my question was, if this is the new normal across the nation at 70% because workers are not available, we have to start planning differently going forward. But that's the reason for losses the last couple of years. And Mr. O'Donnell's probably right this year also at the same pace.
Well, that's what Berger did numbers of years ago, where they said numbers are going down, close the building.
Right, but that was
Consolidate.
exactly, that was an isolated case in New York, and now we've got this nationally. So maybe now we have to start thinking different going forward. But anyway, so just wanted everyone to know why we're losing that money, and hopefully we'll change things so we can break even at lower occupancies.
Well, I think people could still be, fearful of going to facilities for.
That's not what the data,
congregate areas.
that's not what the data shows. The people want to get in there, we just don't have the labor. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah, we're turning people away. I mean, we're turning long-term residents away. We're not taking long-term admissions. We have 90 beds closed because we can't staff them. There's a minimum staffing mandate that was part of the auditor's presentation, and we're just barely meeting it now with 90 beds closed. So.
And we read reports about, this every month.
Right, so I mean, if we continue to take admissions and we obviously couldn't care for those people, there's numerous issues there, obviously resident care, liability issues, and not meeting minimum staffing, minimum mandatory staffing levels, so.
But if we had the labor, you can get the occupancy back up,
Of
right?
course, yeah, that is the number one problem, that's why right.
That's what everybody says now, every business. You can't get
That's right.
supplies to the stores because of truckers, it's everywhere now.
Mhm.
Questions from committee members? Ms. Tortel?
Do you have a wait list?
We have a long-term waiting list, yes.
About how many?
I don't know off the top of my head, I could let you know, but I'm pretty sure it's long.
If we could have that for
Sure.
part of the health and mental health, would that be?
Yeah, I'll
interesting
shoot you guys a note.
To know. Thank you. Thank you,
All
Mr.
right.
Chairman.
You're welcome. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor as presented? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. All right. C is request supplemental appropriation for proposed 2022 capital expenditure to continue with residential unit refurbishments in the amount of $40,000.
Okay.
Lawrence.
Again, we do this annually. It's to replace items on the units, TVs primarily. We use this money primarily for TVs, but it's also used for signage, handrails, wall coverings, unit refurbishments. And we do this every year. We pretty much use the majority of the money every year.
Questions from committee members? Again, just sprucing everything up makes people feel better. Hearing none, all in favor as presented? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Chairman, appreciate it.
Have a good day.
You too.
Okay, Mr. Burpo texted me and said he wasn't feeling good today, so he didn't come in, so come on up.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Sam Slycott. I'm the Deputy Commissioner. I have Lynn here with me.
Great, so today we have a request to approve proposed capital project number 65 in the 2022 capital plan for $3,771,000 for the 2022 technology updates. Funds have already been transferred to the capital project budget per ARPA, resolution number 27 of 2022. Upon approval, a new capital project will be set up. Motion in a second, please.
So moved.
Hines and Cheney. Welcome.
Thank you. Yes, we are looking for just the capital project to be set up. It's already been approved. The capital's been approved. The ARPA's been approved. The funds are there, and now we need them.
Explanation of what's going to be done?
Yeah, basically, and I don't have to tell you guys, the world's changed, right? As far as cybersecurity, IT investments, that sort of thing. I don't know if somebody, recently, Somerset, New Jersey, they just got hit by ransomware. This was, last May. And the world we're in, we need to secure the county and assess it. So in the past, it was more, you put a firewall out there and you're good to go, right? But now you have to have layers of different security. So this is to allow us to build those layers. We've done, some of it, but we need to build more to get out there, as well as to modernize our infrastructure, right? It's kind of like having a car, right? And Houston brakes was good enough, but now you need analog brakes, right? So we need to modernize the infrastructure of the county to make sure that we have the proper cybersecurity for the county and its employees and assets. So this is going to help us do that.
Okay, questions? Mike, any?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for protecting the county. I've sat on this committee since day one, and so this is my 13th year. And it seems to go like ebb and flows, right? So some years we get all the data, it's presented, we see exactly what we're going to get. In other years, someone comes before us and says, we need 4.5 million. And then we all complain, well, what are you going to spend it on? We want to see something, and then it takes a week or a few days, and then the data comes to us and we're promised, oh, that's never going to happen again. You're always going to see everything that we want to do. And whenever we get the data, it's really good. So this time looks like we're down at this part of the graph. And so you want 3.771 million, but I have no idea what you're going to buy with it. It would be nice to know we're going to spend the money here, 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 here. And that's what we're going to do. And that's what we're always promised. That'll never happen again. We'll always give you that. But I guess we didn't this time.
Is this approval of just the money in the capital project where you have to come back to us to spend?
No, this is the 2022 capital. It's already been approved. It was submitted back in 2021, the 3.7 million. I do have a breakdown here. This is already been moved to the ARPA funding. And this is just actually to set up the project so we can use those funds because we've gone through the few layers that we needed to this year. And now we're ready to use those funds that were approved for the 2020.
So can I, Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead.
So you will be using this money to actually buy services, equipment, stuff that we're going to use.
Correct.
And that's what we always wanted to see, and we get promised you'll always have that list. Am I wrong on that, Mr. Chairman?
Well, I mean, there are some items on the back that might need more explanation.
Yeah.
This is, again, it says here, this is the 3.771, which is cybersecurity,
Right.
insurance, software, and hardware.
Right, it's not breaking down what it's buying.
Right.
We can get that to you.
We
I
can
mean, we
get
have
that
a
to you. We have
quick
a breakdown.
breakdown right here in front of us, but if you'd like a more detailed breakdown that went in with the capital plan, we can certainly get that to you.
Okay.
So this was gone over last year when we did the capital plan in
Correct.
2021 for 2022. And it was approved by the full legislature.
No,
Correct.
no.
Yes,
Capital.
this is the
So it was a
2022
capital
capital
plan.
plan. We're just looking.
Yeah,
for
that
the
was a
funds.
capital plan.
Capital plan, but
Right.
now we're actually gonna be spending it on items, and what I'm saying is now I would like to know what items we're gonna spend it on. I agree, capital plan was approved to put in the 3.771 million.
Yeah,
Now
that's
it's
what
gonna
I-
be spent, and we always would get a list, that's all I'm saying.
Okay.
And maybe from now on, we don't want a list, I don't know.
No. So you can send us copies of the complete
Yeah, we can do that.
items
Yep.
before the legislative session? And get it to Jean tomorrow for her to send to us tomorrow?
The commissioner's back tomorrow.
Okay. Mr. O'Donnell?
So where did the 3.771 million go to?
It hasn't gone anywhere.
Well, we're using ARPA money.
We are using our, yes.
So,
Okay, so it was in the capital plan.
Right,
Okay,
right.
but what I did was, as a funding source, I used other, because we were planning to use the ARPA money.
So we're not using the money out of the capital plan that we approved last year.
Oh, yeah, we are.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the same
It's an ARPA money.
No, it's the same money, but the funding source in the capital plan was other. So that other was the ARPA money, yes.
Right,
Thank you.
not taxation.
Became-
It's fine. Say again, Mike?
I said it became ARPA money. Other doesn't necessarily mean it's the ARPA money.
No, correct.
So, I'm just saying, we only knew we got that ARPA money, and that's quite the idea. We've talked about that. We don't have a list of where all that ARPA money's gone, or going.
It was my intent when I put other for ARPA money, it was just,
I believe you.
oh, no, I'm just, yeah, because.
You don't only get this.
This is,
The ARPA money.
but this is the itemization right here.
Here's the whole list
3.7.
of our.
Yeah. Chairman Benelli?
Right on the- I just want to point out that the back of this is the list that you received previously, and you've approved the first round of funding that included some of these projects. So
Correct.
I take exception to the comment that we never saw what it is, because it's right here and we've seen it months ago. When was the first round of funding approved by this legislature? A while back,
April?
a few months ago, right?
Yeah. Right. It's not itemized for the 3.7, that's all. That's why
Absolutely,
that's,
absolutely.
that's why I'm
That's
saying
To speak to
that,
Mr. Anagostakis' point, absolutely.
correct. Ms. Tortel.
Thank you. Yeah, my question was going to be the breakdown of even just a percentage, but I'd like the full list. And then could somebody refresh my memory on, because like we have 10 million for PPE and test kits, blah, blah, blah. What's the ruling on how long we can hold back on it? I mean, some of the stuff that's on here, like the PPE, has an expiration date for, you know, sanitizers and
Right.
sterilization.
So the encumbrances need to be done by December of 2024. They need to be expended by December of 2026. So possibly at the end of next year, COVID is really going away and we don't need PPE, we will reallocate that for something else.
Okay, so we haven't went out and bought $10 million worth of PPE
No, we
at
have
this
not.
point, because I know Lawrence had indicated that emergency service was trying to give him some of their stuff, they had enough, and then
Yeah,
even
no,
more.
we do not, that's fine.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. Any other questions? All right, so you get the paperwork to Jean for her to send to us. All in favor as presented with the future documentation from the department?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried? Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you.
All right. 5A. Come on up, Travis. Travis is substituting today for Eric. Okay, A is request supplemental appropriation to the capital project budget for a front loader to be shared by Orange County Airport and the Orange County Parks Department. Funding for the split 50-50 between the departments. This project has been approved under the 2022 capital plan as project number 3 in the amount of $140,000. And as said, airport 70,000, county parks 70,000, money to come from bonding. Motion and second, please.
So moved.
Mr. Cheney, second Brescia. Travis.
So this would be for funding for a smaller front-end loader to be utilized during the winter at the Orange County Airport for snow clearing on some of the more, the tighter areas where you wouldn't be able to use the snow clearing equipment that's used on the runways. Right now, those clearing activities are done with the 1-ton pickup truck, which is quite aged, and there's a lot of difficulty keeping up with the snow removal with that truck. So but a smaller loader with a push bucket would facilitate that removal a lot better. And it will also be shared with the Parks Department during the rest of the year.
Mr. O'Donnell.
Did you get reimbursed some of the money from the airport? From federal government, state government?
There's things that are, but I believe this is one of the things that Ed was not able to, the director was not able to get.
Any reimbursement?
I don't believe so.
All right, just check on it. Thanks.
Okay, just let us know, Travis.
I will.
Ms. Tortel.
Is this, thank you, Chair, is this going to, are they gonna surplus out that truck that you're referring to, and this is basically gonna replace that, or is this a brand new piece of equipment that's not replacing something that's aged out?
This is intended to be a brand new piece of equipment. I don't know if the truck is at a point yet where they're going to surplus it, but I think the intent was to allow for the removal of the snow more efficiently. I think they were struggling, especially they have limited manpower at the airport.
I think at physical, they said they were gonna dispose of the truck.
He's gonna get rid of the truck?
I think so.
I didn't get briefed on that, but I know that Ed's intention was.
Don't you think that?
Yeah, he said it wasn't, he couldn't inspect it.
Yeah, right. The frame was rotting and
Was that for
really would.
environmental facilities?
Yeah, that was.
Oh, that was the other
Yes.
pickup truck? Okay. My mistake. I apologize.
One of the things, and I know it's gonna sound a little ridiculous, that I don't see on the breakdown, and I'm gonna recommend it for the winter months, especially if that would be an enclosed cab with heat, Not all of them come standard with heat, and if you're gonna have somebody out there for hours removing snow with it, I would ask that you consider adding that, because I hate to put an employee through that miserable work that way.
I am quite confident this is an enclosed cab with heat, but I
Yeah,
can,
I would think so.
I can
Yeah, I would
check
think
on
so,
it.
but I didn't see it on the breakdown, so I know sometimes it's not a standard.
This model of this size loader typically has an enclosed cab on it, just as a standard, but I can check on that as
Yeah,
well.
just that, it would just be my 2 points.
Okay, question.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor as presented? Aye. Opposed? Carried. B, request supplemental appropriation to capital project budget for the Orange County Sewer District Number 1 to purchase road crew new pickup truck in the amount of $50,000. Fundings come from the Orange County Sewer District Number 1 surplus. This project has been approved under the 22 capital plan as project number 60. Upon approval, the funds will increase the capital project number 844-22, the sewer surplus. Motion in a second. Cheney,
Second.
Tortel, Travis.
This capital would be set up to purchase new pickup truck to replace a truck on the road crew for Orange County Sewer District Number 1. This is the one where it's it was a 2008 Ford F-250, and the chassis and the suspension was rusted out to a point where I believe he was having difficulty getting it inspected.
Correct.
And the truck was intended to be surplus. Funds to be bonded through the sewer district.
All right. Questions from committee members? Mr. Paduk?
There was a question yesterday in regards to 134 as the current balance. And
I can answer that. So the original project for the capital plan in 2022 was for 179,416.
Right.
The project itself was broken up for 134,000. So that's the part they went in for. And then there was a secondary piece of the project. It was the replacement pickup truck for 45,000, which is now 50,000.
so the 134 to be used for something else.
Yes, I have a list here.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Questions, committee members? Hearing none, all in favor as presented? Aye. Opposed? Carried. The revision is letter C. This is a request to close capital project number 886 and request supplemental appropriation into capital project budget in the amount of $3 million to be used by Orange County Department of Public Works Division of Environmental Facilities and Services. Funds to be used for the demolition, environmental cleanup, plus any and all consultation, administration, or engineering concerns found during the demolition process of transfer station number 2, located in the town of Newburgh. Upon approval, a new capital project will be set up, and this request will replace capital project number 886, funds to be bonded. Motion in a second, please.
Move.
Travis.
Under capital project 886, a project was previously bid out for the Newburgh transfer station for the demolition and reconstruction of that transfer station. My understanding is that the prices came in very high. They were more than double what the engineer's estimate was. And a decision was made to not move forward with that project at that time. However, there was an order on consent with the DEC for that transfer station, which required the demolition and the cleanup of the site to be completed within a certain deadline. So the project was modified and rebid for the demo and the cleanup of the site. That's actually been bid out, and at the recommendation of Budget and Bond Council was that we come back and close out capital project 886, even though it included, a part of the project included the demolition and cleanup, but it also included reconstruction, and establish a new project, which would be the $3 million new project for just the demo and cleanup.
Questions from committee members? All in favor as presented? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Travis.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Next up, Carrie. Welcome to your first meeting by yourself.
I know, I don't have someone to look over and ask the questions here, right?
What stops here?
Exactly. So good afternoon. Like we always have done, have provided you with our sales tax spreadsheets. The first spreadsheet that I'm going to go through has 2 out of the 3 June payments. So like I said, we've only received 2 June payments and we're expecting our 3rd on the 30th. So currently, we are 39.95% over budget for the year. And for the first 2 payments of June, we're currently 47.98% over budget. The next, yeah, that's great news, correct? So that's the first.
All those honest gas stations.
So that's the first sheet that Karen always used to speak about that I'm referring to. The next one is the comparison. As you can see, the numbers, we'll have that next payment on the 30th. We'll fill that in for you and I'll present that next month. And then the last one is the graph that shows the trend is truly following how it typically has been for the past few years.
Okay.
Well, at a greater rate.
Yeah. It really is amazing how trends like that consistently. Ms. Tortel.
Just one question. We're going into gas tax, sales tax, and how we have it add extra, we give an extra to those dollars that we distribute our sales tax to. That one pot, or is gas tax and
So when we,
retail sales separate?
so when the number comes in the county portion that I'm referring to, that's the one number, and then we distribute it based off of that one number.
So it's one pot? for
Yes.
all.
And that's why it's true. This is why I'm happy to be in finance today for the first time, because I didn't have to project a budget of what's gonna happen. My numbers are actual, of what'll really happen. So back to your gas and sales tax, like I can answer that question where the difference would be, not till, this is gonna sound crazy, till next year, the beginning of next year, as it's a lagging indicator. So yes, to your answer, that's why.
Okay.
Does that help you?
Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome.
absolutely. Thank you.
Any other questions? Nothing? Mr. A? Nothing? Okay. Mr. Hines?
On your report, you changed the dates on the blue numbers. You put 2021 instead of 22. You started that in April for some reason.
Joe, thank you. Good catch. I
It
apologize.
doesn't really matter, but.
Thank you. No, thank you for that. Right, one, right?
That's okay. That's okay. Anything else at all? All right. Thank you, Carrie.
You're welcome.
Next up, Deb.
Just so you're aware, when I did my projection, I just always base mine on just the county portion. She goes all out, I just go with the county portion. Okay. So our general fund sales budget status report as of May 22nd, you can see that the county tax, the property tax has now been posted. The first thing that I noticed was, why was it off $600,000? So that is because we took $600,000 from our contingency a couple of months ago, and we moved it into the water authority fund. So that's a different fund, and that's why you see the difference here, okay? Again, state, federal, and other fund revenues are up over 2021. That is going to change once we do the audit, and we do that reversal of the accruals. Okay, so we will see a better comparison, hopefully by June, possibly even July. Okay, personal services are on par roughly with last year. I can tell you that in this year, as of June 17th, we had 331 vacant positions. Last year, at the same time, we had 341. We are trying to make headway with vacant positions, but as Lawrence referenced, it's hard. We gain 2 and then we lose 3 more the next week. That's what it just seems to be. So
There's a savings there.
there is a savings there too. It's $11.1 million. It is. And again, we have to take into consideration the vacancy that we did put into the budget. But that was a little bit less than normal because we had hoped to fill all these vacant positions and it's just not happening.
Okay.
Not the lack of trying,
Absolutely.
not the lack of trying.
Questions?
Just
Mr. Padu?
Not fund balance now, I said. What's the latest? 35 million?
I believe the unaudited, when I looked at it this morning, was. So, I don't know, it's unaudited, yeah, they're gonna give you a report very shortly.
Well, you have an idea.
Well, you have,
17 last month.
well, you have the report, so that would be the same report that we would still give you, that one page thing that, finance provided you with in February?
Okay. Any other questions? Other committee members? Madam Chair, any questions?
No, thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Deb.
Thanks.
See you next month.
Yeah,
Can I talk to you, Bill, for a second?
absolutely.
All right, that's this clear. Motion to adjourn is in order. Second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Good meeting. Thank you. Good to see you.